Hey.
Hey, now I can see myself.
We are live.
There you go. Yep.
Hey.
Hi.
So, hello, everyone.
Hi,
Hey, James. How's it going? James and Matt are in the chat.
Yay.
Good to see you guys.
Did you intend that rhyme?
Yes. I'm trying not to rhyme. Trying not to. All right. So, how's it going? Oh.
Yeah, good. This one.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Yeah, I tilted that out of the way. An exciting adjustment
There
at
we
the
go.
beginning of the
All right,
cast.
now we can kind of see ourselves.
One of these days, we'll have to hang it like a sports bar over the on the wall over there. That would be ideal.
That's right in front of the door. I've already knocked over equipment once. I don't want to do it again.
Hey, Abyss, how's it going? Oh yeah, you cut just the end of Oathmark.
Oh, yeah.
I saw you in the chat, Abyss.
So by the end, there was like 1 to like 30 models.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah,
that was a fucking massacre.
Yeah, but I was playing an illegal list,
Okay,
so
like,
there's going to be an asterisk in that,
all right.
by that victory.
Okay, I feel mildly better now. But
yeah. Well, building the second list, I realized how much that second level spellcaster takes out of your. I mean,
really?
it's really expensive. So I can't do quite a horde that I want to do.
Right.
With the goblins. So it'll be interesting. I want to see how that works and if it's actually useless not to take a full, block of 20.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, right? Like, because after that game, okay, the elves. I'm wondering about elves, right? Like, I'm committed to play. I'm committed to playing them because I can't return all those models, right? But like, think about okay, they're expensive, right? But they did, I think, what they were supposed to do, right? I didn't once fail an activation check. I didn't once fail a morale check. The elves literally stayed there and got whittled down to a model.
Yeah, that's
so I'm
true.
just like, okay, I think that's what they're supposed to do. Now I just got to make sure they actually get to the point where they're actually effective, right?
Right. Yeah, that's true.
And comparing to like the other stats, I'm like, okay, their defense isn't better than anyone else, but like their fight is better, which don't matter if I can't contact the enemy, right? So I got to make sure I get there, right?
Yeah.
But then like building out some maybe like melee fodder, just like tar pit units, I'm like, would units of 5 be worth it, or is it only kind of like worth taking like 10 or a full unit of 20 to get that rank bonus? Because you always have to arrange models in a row of 5. And then extra ones get added onto the back, and casualties always come from the back as people pile in. So 5 models is cheap. You're not getting any bonuses, and as soon as you lose 1, you're getting penalties for not having a full rank of troops.
Right.
So I think that's something we're going to have to find out in like our second game.
If they're fast enough, the only thing that would be good for is like shutting down activations, like taking away ranged attacks and things.
That's what I'm thinking. Like,
and things are going to change because I'm going to run the Wolf Riders.
Yeah.
So your brace is going to come into it.
As long as they don't get
unshielded.
like
right. Oh yeah, right. And so there'll be some kind of different dynamics. So we'll see the elves maybe a little bit more.
Maybe I'm wondering if I should branch out to like other troops. Like I didn't build my kingdom and include other people except for ghouls, which you're occupying the graveyard of, right? So I'm like, all right, no ghouls.
We're partying at the ghouls.
Yeah. But even the the hunt master and the hounds I was looking at, and I like how they did that. They're just like, okay, it's 1 hunt master and the rest are hounds. They're all use the same stat.
Oh,
right. So there's no fiddly bit there.
Right.
They got a movement of 8, which is fast.
Yeah.
But even so, like they're 20 points a pop.
Oh,
right.
Really?
Like they've got like fight 3, movement, defensive like 8, which is okay. Movement of 8, fight of like 2 or 3, which again is decent. But I'm like, $20. $20 for like a dog. That's still more than the average soldier on like anyone else's team. So we'll see what happens.
Wow, interesting. Yeah. Well, if they talk, then it's worth it, I guess.
Yeah. I don't think they do.
But so we're playing a different scenario too. So maybe objectives and things will change.
Okay, we were just doing the fight scenario.
Yeah, that was just like kill them down. And dwarves are the defense is so high on dwarves.
Well, it's like 10, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like elves are 9, so it's not that horribly different, but it's still they do still play differently. Yeah.
Right.
That no shield for you. I'm just like, oof. All right, that hurt.
Yeah,
and how many times did you get off that fireball? Like 3.
Yeah. I didn't.
I wiped out like 3.
I only had 1 miscast, I think. Yeah. That's true.
Anyway.
All right, so let's get going for today. So good to see you guys in the chat. Oh yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, The Mandalorian season 3 started. Ugh, I'm not sure about that show, but we'll talk about that later. All right.
I've seen this many episodes.
Oh, good. Good. Well, you didn't.
Of
So
Mandalorian.
you didn't cry for.
And Andor.
Oh, nice. You didn't cry at deepfake Luke. Oh, I can't believe it. You've missed a cultural moment. All right, let's get going here.
All right, yeah.
All right, I'm going to shake up the intro a little bit. So
Ooh.
hang in there.
I'm ready.
Welcome to the Weekly. And as always, it is an honor and privilege to be co-hosting with my lovely and talented co-host, Chris Stonebush.
Oh, all right. Where's this going? All right. Hello, everyone.
That's it.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
I'm Jeremy. And this week on the Weekly, No Dark Sun 5e.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Runequest returns to Japan.
Okay.
Black Chrome is Go.
Mm-hmm.
And Starfinder Enhanced.
I can only think of like computer enhanced.
Right. So let's start with a Rasmussen poll that I just made up and actually doesn't exist.
Okay.
But it presented this statement.
Right.
It's okay to play 5e. Do you agree, disagree, or have no opinion?
Those are my only choices?
Yes. This is a Rasmussen poll.
Okay, I'm going to go with B, disagree.
Okay. All right. And a follow-up statement. 5e players can be racist.
Oh.
Agree, disagree, or...
Definitely agree.
Okay, well,
there's a can in there, not an R, right? If it said 5e players are racist,
Right.
I would have to probably say no. But 5e players can be racist?
Yes.
There has to be yes. Okay.
Well, there we have it. So definitive proof that 5e players can be considered a hate group and should be avoided.
Oh, geez. All right.
There we go. Yeah, so this is, I'm just making fun of the Scott Adams nonsense, his tirade. And fortunately, we don't have to look at Dilbert anymore. That's the only good thing to come out of it.
I miss it.
Yeah.
You know, Dilbert was only ever funny after I moved to Japan and started kind of working in a shitty company. And then I'm like, okay, I kind of get this. But then as soon as like Scott Adams just like, oh, all right.
All right. There's the creator.
Yeah.
All right. And of course, we are... so Brink Watch,
Yep.
day 24. So
You're actually
hashtag
tracking this. My
yes,
God.
hashtag resign Kyle, and that leads us into our first story.
Yeah.
So he continues this, I don't know, the shame parade, whatever the executive
party?
director. Yeah. So Kyle Brink is continuing to be interviewed on podcasts. And this time it was, and I enjoyed this guy's channel a lot. He's real kind of down to earth. And as soon as the OGL stuff started, he's like, hey, let's look at Dungeon Crawl Classics. Hey, let's look at other systems. Because he was strictly 5e on
really?
the channel.
Okay.
And so I have a lot of respect for him.
And you
saying,
liked him before that?
and well, it just very interesting approaches and criticism of it because he very honestly loved it and didn't have there's no weird agenda.
Right.
He wasn't so just very interesting guy. Good channel. So he got the chance to talk to executive director Kyle Brink for Wizards, and in the continued attempt to kind of rehabilitate D&D's image after the OGL. And so the topic of Dark Sun Revival came up.
Right.
And Kyle was quoted as saying, I'll be frank. Oh, I forget my Kyle voice. I'll be frank here.
Okay. Now he's got
The Dark Sun setting
two
is...
cigarettes hanging out of his mouth. Yeah.
Right. It's problematic in a lot of ways. And that's the main reason we can't come back to it. We know it's got a huge fan following, and we have standards today that make it extraordinarily hard to be true to the source material. And also meet our ethical and inclusion standards. We know there's a lot of love out there, and God, we would love to make those people happy. And also, we got to be responsible. So they're basically saying there's no way to separate the wheat from the chaff.
I disagree.
Yeah, right. I think so. And somebody else disagrees or agrees with you and disagrees with Kyle. Ajit George, one of the designers that worked on Journeys Through the Radiant Citadel, expressed specifically that he would love to tackle Dark Sun. So a designer of color, designing a Dark Sun as sort of a dark counterpart to counterpart to Radiant Citadel. So I thought, I mean, it's all possible to do. You can't. It's not all or nothing, and it's really silly that these companies are just we can't because
they don't want to put in the work, right? They don't want to put in the work, and they don't want to alienate the grognards or old guard who say, "Oh, this is a woke Dark Sun," right? They don't want to lose that business, so it's better to just kind of say, "We're maybe," or "We're not going to do it," so that people continue to consume or buy or make fan content for the old stuff, without them going, oh, you're never going to. Anyway, yeah, you can do it. You just don't want to.
Right. And, the players and the customers are not idiots, and they're not children. Well, most of them are not children legally.
Most of them are idiots.
but they still have the old books, and they still have access to the old books. So they could release a Dark Sun setting and said, we specifically did not include this as part of the lore. Feel free to put it back in. Do whatever the hell you want at your table.
We'll judge you like...
right.
I'll judge you, right?
If you live stream it, if you do an actual play, we'll have something to say. But at your table, you're free to do whatever you want. So I don't understand why they're so. I guess they're just gun shy because they've already blown it. Yeah, they've already just blown it, and with a couple of different settings. I think the Spelljammer was a miss. They didn't handle that very well. It was just too pared down, too unplayable as a source book.
Well, I haven't read it, so I can't really. And okay, what I remember of Dark Sun is desert and psionics and a lot of slaves.
Right. Yeah, slaves and gladiators.
That's the big thing, right?
Just cannibals.
Hey, cannibals are fine, right? I mean, if the big thing is slavery, then just cut that part out, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, there are no slaves, right? Just don't do it, right?
Yeah, I think it's not, and because the lore of that whole world and everything exists in the second edition and fourth edition publications, people still have it, and so they can include or take out anything. Yeah,
and let's be honest, come on, the fact that the Forgotten Realms or whatever a standard D&D setting doesn't explicitly say there is slavery hasn't stopped anyone from doing the slavers storyline or whatever. Right. So it's not come on, Kyle. Come on. That's going to be my catchphrase.
Come on, Kyle. Right. Come on. So we even got a quote from the Dark Sun co-creator, Troy Denning. And he said, I think that if they reissued Dark Sun and asked me to do it, I would want to take a very careful look at it and make sure that the stereotypes were not being used negatively and that we were avoiding stereotypes as much as possible. I'm proud of everything I did in Dark Sun, but that is not to say I couldn't do better now.
That is a very decent statement.
Yeah. So that's
I did it. I made it. I was part of it at the time, right?
Mm-hmm. And it was the edgy 90s and everything. So yeah, and I think they should be talking to these original designers, but of course they're not going to, because that might cost them money, and they want to just have it all contract and as cheap as possible. Yeah. So anyhow, there's another dark moment. Our Kyle watch continues. So
what this incentivizes me to do is to make a dark hammer.
Right? Yeah, definitely.
And that's the thing, right? As long as you don't use the 5e system, because whatever, right? Go out and make whatever Dark Sun analog game you want, right? And the Blizzard just said we're not going to do it, so here's your chance to make it.
Yeah,
that came out really poorly.
And that's the strange thing too, is when they do a setting, when they do one of these settings, then that gives permission for all of the kind of third-party people to then put things on the DMs Guild supporting that. But not until they do it.
Maybe that's also why they're not going to. That was, I forget when, but then when it first started coming out, it seemed like people were like, oh, Spelljammer and Dark Sun are mysteriously absent from this thing, meaning you can't make content for it on the DMs Guild. Just another reason to not put shit on the DMs Guild, right?
Right.
File the serial numbers off whatever product you want and just put it on DriveThruRPG, right? You're not going to be able to use all the bells and whistles and statted stat blocks, but do you really need that?
Yes. But turning to local news, and a more positive story. So Runequest is the legendary game is returning to the Japanese market with a new edition. So Frog Games, our friends at Frog Games, who localized Cthulhu, the
most popular role-playing game in Japan.
Oh yeah, but the Rules Light. The Swedish version.
Oh,
the Rules Light version. So they localize that, but they do also. I think they're also responsible. It might be Hobby Japan, but they're also.
Oh, I think you're right. It's Hobby Japan.
Yeah. But they do now have the license to do a new edition of the Chaosium RuneQuest role-playing in Glorantha.
Oh wow.
So the original or the most recent iteration created by Greg Stafford and first published by Chaosium in 1978. So previously, Hobby Japan did translate and sold portions of RuneQuest 3rd edition between 1987 and 1994. And at that time, it was even more popular in the Japanese market than Dungeons & Dragons. So in the 80s, RuneQuest was beating D&D.
Yeah, world's most popular role-playing game. My ass. Yeah.
Right. So that's great. So I think people are probably very happy. There'll be a lot of nostalgia and some people that will be happy to see this back in Japan. So we're looking at a fall of 2023 release.
Cool.
And I'll be really interested to see how they handle that and what they look like as far as the volumes, because sometimes they adjust the art and everything for the Japanese market. They get Japanese illustrators to make it more friendly to the domestic market. So I'd love to see the anime.
Yeah, like I was going to bring that up. I didn't
Bronze
buy it.
Age anime.
I didn't buy it,
Right.
but I remember seeing a 4th edition player's handbook, and it looked like a shonen manga.
Right.
Right? Like the cover, I'm just like, well, there's your classic sword-wielding hero. There's your gruff little dwarf. There's your kind of clericy guy. And there's your super busty elf. All right. That's what I was expecting, right?
Right. Yeah, so it'll be fun to see. And I'm not sure, maybe Frog Games is more of a purist. Like maybe they will just use original art. They maybe get licensed to original art and things. But it has been, when things have been localized, they do tend to go a little local flavor as far as the animations.
Local flavor, giant anime titty. I don't know.
I think so.
I think so. Yeah, it really is, right? Okay, relatedly, I haven't found it, but I think I saw somewhere online that Record of Lodoss War, and I'm off anime, but I remember watching a couple episodes out, and people always say like, oh, that was inspired by D&D, right? I think someone said that recently the game notes or play notes or actual play, the text version of the game that became Record of Lodoss War has been like released
interesting.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Don't know where it is, haven't found it, and probably won't read it, but it is kind of like interesting.
Yeah.
Here's the game, and it's D&D, which I don't care, right? Like, here's the notes of the D&D game that became Record of Lodoss War.
Yeah, I don't know why, like Wizards, I don't know why they point to that stuff. I mean, more than it appearing on Stranger Things or whatever. There's a lot of things in pop culture. There's a lot of things in Japanese manga and everything that are directly inspired by D&D play sessions, like campaigns. Yeah. Why don't they say, we're the origin, we're the start of it all. We're inspiring, we're creative. Why don't they go that angle instead of saying, we don't want to give credit to another company's property.
I
But
maybe they can't compete with Call of Cthulhu over here, or maybe they've given up. We don't want to. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Well, let's turn to a game. I don't think it's shown up in Japan. I think at one point it did. Earlier versions did, but as far as Cyberpunk RED. So Black Chrome is getting a release, and so people have been waiting for this for a while. It's available for purchase as a PDF on DriveThru, and will be physical copies are now shipping out to stores. They're saying it's going to be, so this is the kind of style guide, item book, and kind of a lot of the flavor for playing Cyberpunk RED in the 2077 setting. So the setting of the game, the setting of the PC and console game.
Right. Okay.
So people have been waiting this for a while because they teased. I think they did like a starter kit, like a starter set that allows you to play in that setting and kind of tweaks the rules to fit the systems and the timeline of 2077. And because I think RED is actually after that. So I think chronologically, I may be wrong about that, but I believe the setting of RED is after that. So you're rewinding a little bit, and the classic 2020 stuff is kind of distant memory for.
Can I just say it's kind of depressing that this was Cyberpunk 2020 and we have none of that shit. It is 23, right?
Well, we do have tracking.
I didn't mean the shitty stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So So Black Chrome is going to be 12 additional items. Molly Anderson's Night Market. So here's the kind of the rundown of everything in Chrome. And they do a funny thing on the website where they call this their DLC section. So they're kind of like, it's a little bit confusing because if you're Googling stuff or whatever, DLC is for PC games. Right. This is physical, but you can also buy a digital copy. So they're having a DLC section for Cyberpunk RED. Over 170 items to make your Cyberpunk even more Cyberpunk. New apps, gear, linear frames, cyberware, vehicles, fashion, and armor. New lore about the Megacorps and the Neocorps trying to claw their way back to the top of the hill. A lesson on the economics in the time of RED, and 6 night markets and dangerous fixers who run them. So, just adding the flavor that is present in the game that there really aren't sources yet. I think they're eventually going to come out with a full source book for that setting so you can actually convert that over. Because it is popular. I mean, the game, even though it had a real bumpy release and it's recovering as far as being playable on everybody's PC, that setting is popular. And the anime, like, even cemented that as well, the Edge Runners. cemented that as a fun setting. And definitely I'm much more inspired because of played through that game a few times. I'm much more inspired to want to play in that setting if we did Cyberpunk, because it feels it's familiar, and I could definitely run that much better than maybe vanilla Red, But anyhow, so
like a new brand of Coke, Vanilla Red.
yes. So Cyberpunk Chrome Plus is available in their DLC section, and then on DriveThruRPG is the full Black Chrome that has all of those items and enhancements. So if you're trying to 2077 up your Cyberpunk, there you go. And it's got the same kind of like nice design and layout that makes it look like an artifact from that time, except it's on paper, except it's printed on paper, or could be. All right, and the last thing we wanted to talk about.
What is that?
Oh, hey, I totally missed that. Yeah, that was. Let me tell you. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Matt has become a member. Oh, someone's gifting memberships. So Abyss, thank you so much. Yeah, so Abyss, a dedicated follower, has gifted memberships, and Matt has received. So Matt is now a member.
Yeah.
Excellent. Not only a mod, not only a powerful mod, but a member. It's not only the owner of the company, he's a client.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much.
We need to start infomercials with that again.
Yeah, right. We need that. Excellent. And yes, so thank you, Abyss. Much appreciated. Also, the last thing we wanted to touch on, and really, Paizo's having a hell of a year. They didn't even know this was coming.
I'm not going to say they didn't do anything, because you can't. You didn't just sit back and
they're actively anti OGL, the Open D&D.
I've been anti. Where's my kudos? Right, as long as I've been anti D&D, where's my? Right. Anyway, see, just goes to show you, they weren't passive.
Yes,
right?
Yeah, right.
They didn't just yell about it on Twitter. Yeah, all right.
Right. So they Pathfinder, the Pathfinder studio, so Paizo is going to be releasing Starfinder Enhanced. And so this is similar to what they did at the end of first edition Pathfinder with Pathfinder Unchained.
Okay.
They're releasing a book that has a lot of tweaks and finesses a lot of rules and kind of gets things. It's not quite a 0.5
right, okay,
edition, but it's kind of preparing people, because as source books and supplements and things have been released, adventure paths, the rules are kind of changing a little bit. That's kind of tweaking subclasses and how things work, and so the original rule system is a little bit behind. So this is a book that's going to kind of tweak everything and bring it up to the kind of a more streamlined version of what all of the source books and everything, the adventure paths, are doing so far. So what oh, hey. Oh. Hey, now I'm a member.
Yeah,
Yay.
not only a client and a host, but a member.
Now I am a member as well. Thank you, Abyss.
That's hilarious.
So we're getting some I've joined the party. So the so this is the first major revision for Starfinder. It was published originally in August of 2017. So that's
kind of old.
Yeah,
man.
that is crazy. I can't believe
that's almost 5 years, right?
Yeah, and it seems
no, 6.
Yeah, it seems brand new. It seems like it's a new thing, but yeah, it's been around for a while, and there's been a lot published for it since. So what's going to happen are the classes, starship combat, character options, and new species have all been touched up, rebuilt, or expanded in Starfinder Enhanced. So this is coming out in October. It's like everything's coming out in the fall. It's going to be a 192-page hardcover book with totally revised fundamentals. So new systems for player options, revised core classes. So the Envoy, the Solarian, the Technomancer, and the Witch Warper specifically are being rebalanced for ease of play. Design sensibilities reflected in the most recently published classes and in the new sources. A suite of new class features and character options, 90 new feats, because you got to have a lot of feats. 90 new feats along with additional archetypes, equipment, and spells. A new scalable system for equipment to help things so your trusty pistol can grow in power. The other thing they're adding is a narrative starship combat system. So a little bit more role play as far as what you're doing on the ship. You're not just looking at your character sheet and doing skill tests.
Right.
Spending opportunities for resolve and creature companion features. So the fun thing about Starfinder and the novelty that I liked about it right away is they released these alien archives, which are basically their monster manuals. But in those, so many of the species are playable character races. So I mean, it was a lot to handle right away. A lot to that could get unbalanced, and you could end up with some really weird species class kind of combos. But that was really fun because that feels very sci-fi, where you're flipping through a monster manual. I want to play this jelly thing with tentacles.
You're that person. Oh, all right.
But no, I think that makes it feel so much different than Pathfinder. It's less, it's more open and more kind of infinite, because sci-fi feels better that way. Like fantasy always has kingdoms and kind of realms and edges of things. So yeah, I thought that was fun. So so similar to the Pathfinder Unchained that was released in 2015, which kind of heralded the play test for second edition Pathfinder, which, as we now know, is kind of stripped as much as they can of D&D out of it. So it's kind of Paizo's trying to make Pathfinder its own thing.
I still wonder. I'm not really that interested in Pathfinder or Starfinder. I wonder how you would strip D&D out of it and what exactly that means. Is it kind of like fiction-wise? Because I hate the word lore. Yeah. Is it mechanics-wise? Because you're still going to have your 6 classic stats, right? And that's kind of become D&D, right?
Yeah, they have, and I guess that kind of that statement is a little bit moot now since the SRD went into so that it's Creative Commons, and they haven't done it yet, but 3.5 will eventually. They said all of that is going to go, like all versions are going to be
SRD?
Yeah, SRD.
And Creative Commons.
And Creative Commons. So it will be kind of, that won't matter at all if they take it completely out, because as long as they, but they did say, so people were worried because in Pathfinder second edition, the core book, it does have the OGL.
Right.
But so people were worried when this thing started, but they said, no, don't worry. What we did with this system is move it away as much as possible from D&D. So we will see. But one more thing that came up with Paizo. So October for Starfinder Enhanced and $45 for hardcover. And keep an eye out because they do have dinged and bashed up kind of second sales. If you're going to bash it around on the table anyhow, why not pay a little bit less?
How are you playing when you're just like...
But I like that. I like that Paizo does that and doesn't just send you their dinged books and make you pay full price.
No. So if the choice is saying, yes, I will pay less for a damaged book versus full price, and what the fuck?
It got damaged anyhow in the mail. So I like that. So keep an eye out. Yeah, digital and hardcover available. But Paizo also released a statement that it is banning AI-created art and contents in its RPGs.
Thank you.
So, and this is including community-created work for both Pathfinder and Starfinder. So they're committing themselves to work by human professionals. And I think... especially this hobby, needs to keep emphasizing that, because I can't. Lazy DMs and so many fucking people, are just like, oh wow, do you believe what this can do? This can write all of my character descriptions for you. This can write this can build the world for me.
Sure, it can.
Yeah, if you want to wrate the most boring Frankenstein world ever.
Well, would it be? Oh, I guess it would be boring because all it's done is like pulling out tropes. Yeah.
So it's. I really don't. We're dealing with this era. They already talked about the. Ebook market is, and in journals too, because a lot of journals are only online, only digital, are being flooded now with AI written short stories and stuff. So these people have to just filter this stuff out, and it's polluting the Kindle stores and stuff on Amazon, because people are they can release anything that they want. Yeah, and it's just flooding now. So you're not going to actually be able to even find new things written by humans, because the titles now are just out of control.
No, I couldn't tell you what it was, but because I'm not involved in absolutely everything. But people were a couple of weeks ago, some journals or some fiction journals said that's it. We can't take submissions anymore.
Right.
Because we don't want AI stuff, but we don't have the manpower to filter through all this stuff. So as crappy as it is, the solution is just to say no, we can't take submissions anymore.
Yeah, so you have to have representation. So that's what they're doing, is they're giving a lot of literary agents a lot more money because you're going to have to go through agencies and people that are actually going to vouch for you that you don't click a button to write your stories. So in the statement they're saying the cheap and easy to use AI art and text generators are changing the field and the content very much. They're committing to work by humans and promising contractual bans on AI generated art. So 2021 became the first. And also Paizo. So another thing to credit to Paizo is 2021 they became the first tabletop role playing company to unionize. Yep, that's right. So they're changing their contracts to add this language. And that also includes, like I said, the marketplace. So that's very encouraging. So AI generated is not permitted at all. Our customers expect, a quote from them, our customers expect a human touch to our releases. And so long as the ethical and legal circumstances surrounding these programs remains murky and undefined, we are unwilling to associate our brands with this technology in any way. So yeah, NFTs, all that stuff, I think companies should be very clear that we don't know what the hell this is, what people are trying to do with this, and the exploitation that it involves. So
Yep.
yeah, just
We're
stay
not touching
away.
it. Yep.
So as soon as we start to have good tools for detecting AI created and generated text and images, I mean, that will make things more clear. And it's already been established. I think the U.S. Patent Office, not that, but a precedent was set.
Like a rare win.
Yeah, yes, or not Patent Office, the Copyright Office.
Yeah.
Copyright Office, someone submitted an AI-generated comic, and they were refused copyright because they said this is uncopyrightable material. So that's perfect. I mean, that's exactly the legal stance that it should have, is it's not worth anything, and anyone can take it from you and republish it, do whatever they want. So feel free to generate all the AI art that you want. If you come up with a nice combination of things because you did the right text prompt, everybody, especially bigger companies, can just take that out from under you, republish it, and make money from it, because that is unprotectable. So it's not, because it's not yours. You didn't do anything.
You didn't do anything except come with.
You made a sentence that said, "Cool cyberpunk story about the guy that," and it created something just wonderful. So so this came up one more time in the Cities Without Numbers Kickstarter. So Kevin Crawford also had a statement on that Kickstarter page, a word about the art. So the book is originally roughed out with just stock art, and he always chooses to commission specific art, and then because he always does a free edition that's almost all of the book itself, just minus some minor systems and things, the free commercial PDF is released later, so he has to buy the art to be able to release it for free commercially, because it's included in a for sale product and included in a free product.
Right.
So always that is the effort, and so avoiding AI art, he's going to make a specific effort to avoid AI art because the interpretation is still it's automated IP theft. So he said on the Kickstarter page, "I license my stock art, and every piece in the book involves a human artist getting paid for it." And he is avoiding, specifically if people are known to work with AI art, or that's part of the tools that they heavily use, he's going to try to avoid some of that as much as possible. But he's saying, I'm not an expert on this.
Right.
I don't have an eye for it. I'm not really going to know unless unless the artist says I do this, then I can say, well, sorry, I'm not comfortable working.
Right. Or unless someone can prove it. And I think that
Right.
we're kind of at that. We're not at that point, but for small companies, you got to be, I think, saying to the best of my knowledge and ability is kind of the best you can say right now.
And I can say, and especially for people that have really high production, like concept artists and things, the AI generated art has a use as a tool. I think being able to just iterate on something and see a combination of images that never would have occurred to you, and have that be the inspiration for your work or inspiration for a composition or something, that's valid.
Right.
But as long as the work is done by you and it's interpreted through a human hand and a human brain, I think that makes sense. So there is a place for AI generated art as far as a tool, as far as like roughing things out, or as far as just iterating on ideas to kind of come up with something that you never would have gotten to. And the same thing with probably writing. I'm sure that there are useful ways that you can use AI text to kind of find a way, and then give it your voice.
Right. No, I forget who put it up, but there's been a couple really good little Twitter comics, and the whole crux of the thing is okay, art has to be filtered through, as cheesy as it sounds, like a human soul, right? There has to be some kind of human intent. There is no human intent with AI.
Right.
Right? It's just this, you trained the AI to associate these things, and so all it spits out is associations. There's no meaning or connection. It's just this word appeared next to this word more times than not, so I'm going to give that to you.
Right. Yeah, and as someone that's worked as an illustrator, it's particularly disgusting that I'm not going to say that programming and designing AI is not creative, but there's definitely contempt that these overpaid programmers and AI designers have for creatives that have chosen a lower paying, more kind of soul, rendering, style to express themselves. They have contempt for that, and they just say, I could do that with a press of a button. Let me write something that can do exactly what you can do.
Right.
And so maybe the best thing to come out of all this AI generation thing is that we will finally realize like what it is, what the essence of, human creativity is, and how you can define it and separate it from just something that's mass produced by software. And so
you can't.
Yeah, so I really hope that we get to that point, because there is so much contempt for this. This painting sold for this many $1 million. I could have done that, like that.
And that's the thing, right? Okay, we're getting into like art here. Like, okay, don't illustrate anymore, right? But yeah, I went to art school, kind of in art history, and like it was always going through the modern wing section, going, what the fuck am I looking at? Right?
Right.
So it's like, right? But then once you find out the context, okay, everyone else or so many other people were doing realistic. This was a conscious choice on the artist to go completely different direction, right? And I've found that once I understand the context, I get it now. I don't like it.
Yeah.
It looks like dog vomit, but I get it, right? And it's that whole thing of, I could do that. Okay, but you didn't.
Right.
Yeah. You didn't.
Right.
If you could have done it, or if you pony up and do the work and then make the thing.
Were you alive in the 1960s and involved in exactly that movement? No.
Yeah.
But and the other thing too is the kind of corruption that art has now is it's basically money laundering for oligarchs now. So art is basically the creativity and that's why Banksy and actually graffiti art and actually urban street art is this a more valid thing, because it's so much harder for people to tear it off of walls and put it in Sotheby's auctions. But I definitely have a lot of contempt for contemporary art,
as they obviously have for creatives. Yeah,
right. But that's the thing, and that's this back and forth, and we're at the kind of mercy, because creatives have to use digital platforms and digital tools. So I'm not a fan of the people that make Photoshop, and they are in some ways kind of controlling how I can create images. So it's a weird dynamic, and it will continue to be for a while. So blah blah blah, rant over. But anyhow,
I'm with you there, yeah.
So that's it for this week. So
cool.
Where can people find you?
On Twitter, where I'm talking about the presentation of information in the Alien cinematic scenarios, right? Because I'm running Destroyer of Worlds, which you're planning on Sunday.
Yes, right.
And I recently, just yesterday, bought the Heart of Darkness PDF, the third cinematic scenario. Haven't started reading it yet, except the characters. It's scientist.
Oh, okay, cool. That's cool.
So, yeah. Anyway, that's Hivemind, HYVEMYND, where I'm also tossing up pixel art card artworks. Yep.
Excellent.
So, how about you?
All right, and I'm still persisting until I make a Dilbert-like mistake on my live stream.
I hope not.
To do my cartoon domestic abuse. So gocomics.com/domestic abuse for the archive, and abuse cartoons on Twitch and YouTube every Wednesday night, North American time, Thursday on this side of the world, for a live stream where I draw the cartoon and eat some Japanese snacks, and had a really good one this week. It was a very premium chocolate thing that I didn't think was a convenience store was capable of doing. But,
wow.
Very impressed.
All right.
So anyhow, if you'd like to support what we're doing with the weekly, please visit patreon.com/upturntable and become a weekling.
Yes, the strongest of all supporters, except it's spelled with 2 E's.
2 E's, right. And let us know what you'd like to see and what you're enjoying about this weekly podcast. And then also get the RSS feed of all of this audio sweetened so it's easier to listen to just on headphones.
So you auto-tune my voice?
Yes, sir.
All right, awesome.
I do. It's completely different. And also visit upturntable.com for everything that we're up to, things we'll be posting. We did a recent... it's not a live stream of our first battle for Oathmark, and
massacre. That's not a Muslim battle; it was a massacre. Yeah.
So if you'd like to see some elves get slaughtered, we'll do an edited, kind of digested version of that, so you can see just the dynamics of a very simple battle. So a learning beginner battle, 550 points on a 2x4 table. Yeah. So it's a tiny one, but it's good to give you the basic rules and how
things work.
How things run. And Chris, I'd like to compliment you. You did a great job, kind of going through the rules. So
thanks.
So listening to that, so I want to make sure that it stays intact as much as possible, kind of going step by step, like how you're thinking about each of these roles and what you're doing. Chris handled the rule book and everything very well. So it's
I had to do something since I was getting whooped so bad.
well, you were distracted. That's what happened. You were distracted with the rules. But it's a very clear explanation of how the battles run and what what bonuses, what penalties, and how things work in Oathmark. So if you're interested in that system, it's a great way to learn the game.
Yeah, good to know that 13 years of quasi teaching has kind of paid off.
Right.
And now I'm able to present information.
Right. So, and also find us on Upturned Table on all social media.
Yeah.
So that's it for this week. We'll be back next week.
Later, mortals.
Goodbye. Nice. Okay, we'll be back in a minute. All right, that's a little room tone to get the sound of the air and the line noise and everything out of that audio. That's for patrons of Upturned Table. So yeah, this goes on the Abyss says elves bring out the worst in me. Well, we showed those elves. They're gonna think twice. Yeah, I think they're gonna bring some human associates next time. There may be some barbarians. There we go. Okay, let's catch up with the Oh, nice. Miguel has an excellent recommendation. Give Dark Sun to Anita Sarkeesian to rewrite. She can be the sensitivity reader for Dark Sun. That would be brilliant. It'd be just funny to see what the actual results of that would be. Probably unsellable, but funny. All right. Nice. Well, yeah, I'm glad to see you, Abyss. It's been a while. And James, yeah, thanks for dropping in at the beginning. Yeah, so Mandalorian Season 3. It's so weird that if you didn't watch the Book of Boba Fett, which was like there's like almost two full episodes of Mandalorian in that 7 episode or whatever season or limited series. You have no idea what's going on because he's like flying this like modified Naboo fighter now. He doesn't have, he has a new ship, and it's all and the baby Yoda is back, Grogu is back, so it doesn't make any sense. But having to sit through that deep fake Luke AI voice like training sessions and stuff with Grogu in Book of Boba Fett was torture. That was really terrible. So I guess just read a summary. I guess they recap at the beginning, but I don't know. I'm losing faith in the Mandalorian. It's not. They needed to keep it stripped down, and I know people, really enjoyed the Luke Skywalker cameo at the end of season 2. And it seemed like back to something more enjoyable. But they're never going to do that. And they should have just kept Mandalorian stripped down and just the Western. So he should have been on desert planets all the time and, just kept it. And that would have lowered the budget as well. But I think it's just going to get stupid. There's going to be so many, Mandalorians and their jetpacks. And, yeah, who cares? But we'll see. Yeah, I mean, it was encouraging. That first season was like, okay, maybe they can do something better. But after looking at Andor, after the serious, like the adult tone and the serious stakes and the back to rebels against an empire of Andor, I don't have patience for this Mandalorian thing anymore. Yeah, it's just silly. And the music is okay. If they're going to keep it small, but as soon as they start to have like there's a scene of like a kind of dogfight fighters, starfighter battles, and the fake John Williams that goes into those scenes is just like, let's not. Yeah, I don't know. The scale of it is just kind of wrong. Hey Miguel, how's it going? Standards. There we go, James. All right. James agreed that Spelljammer was a bust. That's a real terrible. And maybe they were we're going to release something half-assed and then let the DMs Guild fix it. Kind of the PC game theory. Just release a broken game and let the modders actually make it playable. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny the popularity that 5e's had, but like if just in terms of a game and a playable system and an enjoyable game, I think a lot of old school gamers don't want to touch it at all. Our OSR, Rob, the OSR DM, we ran a little bit of 5e and he was just disgusted by the invincibility of the players and kind of that how everything was so overpowered, because I think I had like access to like 84 hit points or something at level 2 as a level 2 druid. I had like almost infinite hit points because I could spend my spell slots as D8 auto heals and stuff. Like there was a lot of stuff that was a little wacky and a little just offensive to the original aesthetics. Okay. Oh, Miguel says, hey, Chris is wrong. Dark Sun without slaves is not Dark Sun. Yeah, that's a very good point. The same way that magic without despoiling the land is not Dark Sun either. Interesting. Yeah, that's right. The magic system. That's why it's a blighted land, is because the magic users have just sucked all the life. Like they've used the world to feed their magic. Yeah, that's a good point. It's just that it's the weird thing with modern gamers. Like there was a whole thing going around. A couple of YouTubers made videos about it. I think it originally was on Reddit or 4chan or something, about a long-running campaign that got a new player. The new player was vegan, so all the snacks at the sessions instantly had to become vegan friendly, and then the player pulled aside the DM after a particular session, and after they were being difficult in a particular session, because the background of one of the characters was a chef, and they were killing and preparing animals, and that was offensive to them, so they wanted that content removed. So they were basically stepping into a long-running campaign and asking them to just do everything they can to create a cruelty-free game campaign so that they would be comfortable. So it's the same thing like slavery and Dark Sun or whatever. You're just not going to play it then. If those are your sensitivities, if that's what you can't deal with, that is a very triggering or whatever whatever you're going to say about it. Right? You can't strip it out, and that's what I think we were talking about in the past, is fear of how many things can they take out of D&D before it's not D&D anymore, just to make new players happy or comfortable, or make it an easy onboarding for new players. Yeah, interesting. I think, Miguel, it's an interesting point. And the whole special race dependent on slavery, right? So even the whole storyline evolved around it, right? And yeah, and slavery. Like if you have gladiators, then you have to have slavery, because that's how you get gladiators. So yeah, it's difficult. And so Matt is saying, if bad guys enslave whoever, not just real world analogs, well, what's the problem? They're the bad guys, right? And it gives you an obvious alignment, or obvious like what this group is all about. And if that's what they're going to do, then aligning your characters against that would, somehow. I mean, shouldn't that be satisfying? James is saying, Dark Sun with basic roleplay would be fun. Yeah, there was the Black Hack. I think somebody did a port of Dark Sun for the Black Hack system on itch.io. I saw that come up when I was like looking around at, like, because I was trying to think if what would be a rules light system, because I wanted to run Dark Sun for the group that I ran, Warhammer Fantasy, the Enemy Within, with Warlock, and I was trying to look for another system, rules light system that they would find playable that we could run Dark Sun with. But and so I'll have to look more closely at Black Hack. That might actually work. Nice. Yeah, Runequest is good stuff, James said. Yeah, I'm happy. It's so funny that it was popular. I think in some countries that was the case as well, that Runequest was more popular than D&D at certain points in its evolution. So yeah, that's good. Or Year Zero might be a good fit. Yeah, I want to look at the that's right. That could be pretty, especially gear dice and stuff, like that would put more emphasis on the survival, because things would be much more scarce. Like metal is almost entirely impossible to find, so breaking weapons and things, damage to equipment would be much more brutal if you did Year Zero Dark Sun. Yeah, that could be really fun. And Miguel says, yep, an RPG that glorifies slavery is a whole different beast than one where slavery just exists and it's up to the players to deal with it. Nice. Yeah, I think that's a very good point. Yes. Is this Miguel's criticism of Runequest? So Runequest is not good when you have 4 hit points plus 3 armor points on each arm, and a monster does an average of 7 damage. Yeah. I died. I died pretty brutally in Runequest, but I was a insanely overskilled shaman's apprentice. So the tribe decided to bring me back to life. But it's very deadly, because it's location based. So it's basic role play, so it's location based hits, and you have single digit with armor hit points on most locations. Yeah, that's brutal. Cannibal halflings and Dark Sun. Yeah, yeah, it's fun as hell. That whole setting is just brutal and fun, and it flipping the traditional fantasy, you know, races on their heads is good. Ooh, Dark Sun Druids. Yes, right. Oh, Basic Expert D&D was Record of Lotus Wars. Nice. Yeah, I'm curious now that Chris mentioned that if there's like they're probably in Japanese originally, but if they're did some translation, or if we can get them or do our own translation on them and see what those are like. I'm curious. I'm curious to see what they came up with. Matt's away from our wrench has left. Nice. Yeah, thanks, Abyss. Thank you so much. Gifting memberships. Appreciate that very much. Miguel saying, I didn't much play Cyberpunk back during college, but I always remember fondly the time we dodged an AA missile into an office building. Nice. Yeah, I would definitely play in the 2077 setting just because from the game it feels very familiar. That would be fun as hell. Matt is back. Ooh, wrench and hammer. That's right. Matt would be carrying both a wrench and a hammer, tweaking and banning. And Matt is remembered. So Matt and I are both members again. Thank you. Yeah, it's supposed to be random, right? And it's always the same two people. Yeah, maybe it goes it goes based on the mods get preference. Nice. So Matt's saying, I just don't get excited about Pathfinder Starfinder. It's still very D&D derived and never felt different enough to me. Yeah, and it's got the same kind of problems that I just noticed that with like character generation and stuff, the same sort of stuff where you're like, okay, I know this is what I have to do. I know this is the combo. This is just a little bit too much temptation for min-maxing and being a little too mathy with the character generation that is not very narrative and not very immersive. Yep, good for Paizo. AI art used commercially is very lame. Miguel says the clicks must flow. I can't even imagine. And Japanese people are incredibly sensitive to fake art and shortcutted art. They call out, so anytime a manga artist, for even like a background image of a commercially published manga, if an artist traces a Google image as a photo reference, they call him out and they shame the comic and everything. There's like so much of that going on Japanese social media, where if an artist, a background artist, is lazy and they have to do a house and they just Google Japanese house, and then they literally bring a digital image in and then just like trace it and put it in the back of even background of manga, like Japanese viewers and customers freak out about that. So I can't imagine AI art is not making them anything but very angry. Yeah, so we'll see. And of course, it's always this gold rush. Everything is like, oh, this is an easy shortcut, so let's do that. So yeah, of course, like journals now are flooded with garbage AI submissions of story submissions and art contests and things. People are like trying to sneak AI art into art contests for that companies are holding on their websites and stuff. Yeah, it's a brutal. Matt said, did y'all see 80-year-old Ralph Bakshi dissing an AI animation studio? Nice. Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, he's definitely going to have strong opinions, even if he was the king of rotoscoping. I definitely think that's a good thing to just because it's people. It's really going to separate people into groups, though. People that are just satisfied with just nonsense chattering being repeated back to them and being like, oh, that looks cool, oh, that's funny, that's cool, just like whatever AI can repurpose and regurgitate into their faces. If they'll be satisfied with that as entertainment or as content, then fine, they can just go into their little chambers, their little VR chambers, and experience that all they want. But hopefully it's going to help people be a little more discerning and appreciate the skill and what goes into creating things. So Miguel said, talking about titles, I'm always astonished by the titles of Japanese light novels and power movies. Yes. Well, they do have interesting titles, don't they? Yeah, I guess yeah, there's not really, it's not as defined, I think, in publishing in America and stuff. But yeah, Japan has this genre called light novels, which are basically like pulps, basically the closest thing maybe to and Japan, even their comic book industry is closer to pulps because they initially publish a lot of the weekly and serialized stories on just garbage paper that's meant to be thrown away. It's recycled paper meant to keep being recycled. But they have the same thing with novels, very slim, very just kind of silly, basically just like stories that could then easily become anime or writing that specifically is toward light anime or fantasy stories or magical stories or whatever. And we don't quite have that. I guess like the closest thing that comes at like YA fiction, like young adult fiction, comes pretty close to that because it's regurgitated garbage that's very safe. But yeah, interesting. But yeah, I think light novels get a little spicier though, like pulps. Nice. It's a name I've not seen in a very long time. And Abyss is saying, unless your name is Square Enix, who sells their precious IPs for blockchain. Oh yeah, that's depressing. Matt says someone's got going to start a human art grading service at some point. Yeah, well, they're going to have to. I think they should just require anybody that's going to make AI tools to also create a kind of a detection, just like I don't know what would be a good equivalent. But like a master key to a locking system or something, something that allows some sort of control over the situation, so it just can't go completely insane. Because the AI is created by people; it's not this sentient thing that makes its own decisions. It's created by people, so it has all of the flaws of its original creators, its political biases and everything. And you don't just want to put that out there and have that exist unchecked. So there should, if you develop something that is going to rape these data sets that you have no right or shouldn't have any access to, or no authority to access them, you should have to create a tool that then lets you kind of reverse, see what all these sources were, and what you actually stole to make whatever, and then legally they can decide what happens with that. Unless laws are made to limit them, Abyss is saying this, guidelines, then people have no choice but to give in. Yeah, eventually AI will start replacing actual artists to cut the corners. Yeah, because companies are only looking to save money. So of course, if the AI work is convincing, or just like Chris, I think that's one of the biggest limitations. Chris is frustrated as a game designer. Good art gets a lot of attention, but good art is expensive. So Chris has a lot of ideas and things she wants to release, but that is the kind of the difficulty. The barrier to entry is finding an artist that's affordable and working with them to create a look for your games or for whatever you're creating. So that is going to be one of those, so that's not at the corporate level. That's at the independent, that's at the individual designer level. That is appealing. That is compelling, because then you're going to have a nice looking version of your own designs out there. But you got to consider what you're doing, and the less you pay artists, the less artists will exist, and also the lower quality. So eventually, it just like when things like those little things like Fiverr and those little gig websites come up that paid nothing, that also makes those people that are trying to work that way more tempted to use shortcut skills and buy licensed art and sell that to you. So basically, you buy access to royalty free art that you license, and then people pay you to create something, and you're just basically handing them, things from libraries. Like a lot of those systems turn into that. So of course AI is going to tend toward that sort of nonsense. But yeah, it's going to be a bumpy ride for a while. So yeah, it's really brutal. So Matt's saying, draw the line. Draw the line at some abstract art. Last time I went to the Carnegie Mellon, there was a series of black canvases with colored borders. And I was like, fuck this guy. Yeah, so who was it? It's always I think the number one offender of people that don't have like context of of like historical context of modern art is Cy Twombly. So Cy Twombly basically has canvases where he just writes numbers like in pencil on a canvas, and then that just so. But modern art, especially like contemporary art, is just intellectual exercises, and the art itself is just the byproduct of an intellectual exercise. So it's not being able to produce it. It's the thought process. It's the, in the context, the intellectual process that brought you to this, that says mark making is this, and the origin of numbers is this, and how come something recontextualize the weird natural occurrences of like somebody scribbling on a bathroom stall actually has some significance if it has intellectual intent. Yeah. So anyhow, and art stuff, but I could do that. But you didn't do the intellectual work of it. But yeah, of course you could physically do the byproduct of it. So that's the thing that's kind of weird, is a lot of art making is the detritus of a thought process, and then it's claimed by this horrible system where people give it these values, and then they just are hiding their money. They're just hiding their money, and they've got insane amounts of money, and they're moving it all around, and keeping it illegally concealed from any sort of tax or any sort of access by governments, and then using it to influence things in the world. So the world oligarchy really loves the art market because it's just too tempting. But anyhow, so AI generated content, this is Miguel, is going to decimate low quality stuff. Yeah, that's true. And maybe it will force human artists to be less lazy and take less shortcuts and actually push themselves a little harder to do things that AI is not capable of. And then eventually the AI will suck that up too. So, that was the thing that I had to decide as making content and putting it out there digitally is, people are going to steal it. People are going to do whatever they want to with it. It's going to enter this, data set, which is all people think about the internet as. It's going to enter this data set of the internet, and it's digital, so it can be infinitely duplicated, infinitely repurposed, but they don't have the thing I'm going to do tomorrow. They don't have the thing I'm going to do the next day. They don't have the thing. So as long as I keep doing something, they don't have that. They don't have the thing that I haven't yet done, and that's my value. That's the thing that people will subscribe, that will syndicate my artwork for. So that like so Go Comics doesn't pay me for the stuff I already did. They pay me for the stuff I'm going to do. And AI is not capable of doing that. AI is not capable of doing anything new. So that's the only encouraging thing, or the only thing to the way to kind of the mindset for an artist to have is that you just keep pushing forward, and you do things beyond what you thought you could do, and you're always going to stay ahead of what a piece of software can do. All right. Will there be another stream? Oh, no, sorry, Abyss. Yeah, we're going to probably only once a month for Oathmark, because I have to build boards and we have to paint miniatures and stuff. So I think we've got our list for the next battle set, but it's probably Oathmark is going to be a once a month thing. But I'll let you know. We'll update you on this live stream on when that's going to happen. And I will release, so you can see it in a more digestible version, because I think we played for almost 3 hours. I'll release an edited version where you can hear Chris explaining the rules, and you can watch kind of a quick progression of the match. We didn't get to 8 turns, but we got there. So Miguel saying, why pay $15 an hour to a person when AI will put out the same stuff for $1? Yeah, well, it's not, but it isn't the same stuff. I think that's the thing. Companies, and they have to start seeing the point of it. And of course, if you just want something different, I just want a red border on something. Yeah, of course, AI can give you a techno-y looking red border on something. So, well, hopefully what that will do, is that will eliminate all because that's the stuff that I hate, is the low pay, low, kind of even low effort, low creative kind of design stuff that you can be hired to do. little spot illustrations and things like magazine stuff that's just like, it's so brainless and so pointless. So yeah, let AI take all of that up and just put color in color in on blogs and in articles, and then hopefully the people that actually there's value for their work, and then their work has value, they may get a pay increase from it, because you're going to eliminate that whole strata of just kind of cheap throwaway art, just like fast food. Like fast food won't need humans to make it anymore. It'll just be a giant building that's a vending machine. Yeah, I don't know. So the fast food workers of the illustration of the art business will go away. All right. The only good elves are the ones in harem manga. Oh, Miguel. That's right. It's always the elves. James said, I saw that. Oh, you saw that vegan thing. Yeah. That was such a... It's weird. I mean, you want to get new people into the hobby, and then when they're like, can we have a cruelty-free campaign? You're like, what are you doing? Why would you possibly ask that? And going into a long-standing campaign, it's amazing how the younger back in my day, how the younger generation can be so selfish and so narcissistic and just be like, but it's about me, right? Well, there's a lot of other people at the table, so actually it's not. Sometimes you have to gatekeep, says Miguel. Yeah, it's a very strange thing. People being so soft is offensive to me, says Abyss. Yeah, and it's got to be my way. I'm the star of this movie. Yeah, Abyss says, yeah, imagine not being able to say no to your players. Yeah, that's brutal. Matt did a stint as a vegan. Never once tried to make people accommodate me. Yeah, it's really... it's funny, and I noticed that weird dynamic with vegans in Los Angeles. It was just kind of a little bit of a power trip. It's just like, well, I'm gonna kind of decide where we can and can't eat, where we, or like if it's coworkers, where we can and can't go for lunch. If you invite me over to a dinner party, then I'm gonna dictate the menu. It's kind of a weird, just like the same way that I noticed that in LA more than any other place is, if somebody orders at a restaurant, they have such weird specific things that they want that the restaurant probably isn't even capable of doing. But they're like, can I have this, but without this, and I want this changed to this. And it has to be like this completely unique, customized order for just ridiculous, simple, like cafe food and simple things. And it's just a weird control trip. And it's just like, well, I'm so far above the people that are serving me, and I am paying them money for this. So let them dance around for me. Yeah, it's very weird. James said, I think we can put trigger warnings on books and still have controversial things, so long as they're well done and not poorly. Yeah, and I just I can't believe, and I guess it's like America's really bad at that. American companies are really bad at that. If they designate something as, oh, this is a game, so it must be for kids, so they don't understand that they're the audience and the like the player base for D&D, there's a lot of new young players, but it skews very old as well, and those people can decide for themselves how they want to play games and what they want to do, and they don't need to be handheld with things. And I think American companies are really bad at that, are really bad at making things for adults. And says, that's where I would disagree. If I write a book, then I will not forewarn what it contains. If they end up disliking it, then they will learn to close it and walk away. Interesting. Yeah. So no warnings. Interesting. Miguel says, I find it fair to warn players when certain topics are going to be part of the game. I don't agree with changing stuff. Yeah. Editing things like the Roald Dahl thing, the stuff coming out that they're, I forget his publisher, but they are taking fat and dumb or some, I forget some of the words, some of the offensive words out of his work, and rewriting passages of those books to make them work better for modern audiences. That's insane. Yeah, interesting. Yeah. So Abyss says that people are cherry picking with current event stuff. What they want to cut or what will trigger them. Yeah, and it's just it's just like I was saying about that changing the order in a restaurant. It's just about power. It's like you are going to serve me. You are going to do as I say, and then you have power over a corporation where you're going to, if you're going to make it a problem, then they have to they have to give you what you want. Yeah, it's weird. Abyss, yes, yet nothing is ever brought up when things like mind control magic is used, which to me is equal to rape, or how no one blinks an eye when they genocide a full dungeon for loot. Abyss killed the chat. Oh no! I think that's an interesting. No, it's very true. The things that get called out, and like we keep coming back to, like the more you criticize fantasy roleplay, the more you're like, well, just the foundation of this is problematic. If you're going to call things problematic, the whole damn, the thing that is built on, you're not going to be able to defend in these, more contemporary terms. Yeah. I'm sorry. I missed Matt saying, that's more performance art then, isn't it? Oh, that's interesting. No, that is a point. I think there is a lot of crossover between like what I was saying, the results, the art is a result of some intellectual process. It is. I mean, it is. It's so, and that's the question, and that's the thing that's been brought up in contemporary art with things like Banksy, with artists like Banksy, and where they just they steal a phone box and cut it in half and solder it back together and then bring it back and lay it on its side, as art. So is art a document, or is it an object? Like, is it an object of beauty? Is it something that is appreciated, or is it just a document of an experience, a document of a time, a document of a thought? So there's a lot of, I think, argument back and forth with that kind of stuff. But no, that's a good point, Matt, that that if you are just I did this, and it doesn't just become performance art. It's about the thing you didn't see. A document of something that happened off canvas. So Miguel said, I'm fed up with Google and co-promoting paid crap content over blogs, web pages with useful stuff. I need to get to, I can't even, my phone is almost unusable for visiting like blogs and websites and stuff where they have heavily monetized pages. I got to see if on phones, if ad blockers work on phones. Sometimes it screws up functionality. So if you have an ad blocker running sometimes, then web shops and certain things, certain kind of web-based apps don't work well because the ad blocker interferes with them. Oh, let's see. So, but does it just cut out a lot of crap? Yeah, that's good. So it's not weird, Jeremy, but it's abusive because when they get denied, invariably they throw a tantrum and they try to get people fight. Right. Yeah, that's true when it becomes, when that power, trying to get some power, trying to get control over the world turns into, I'm going to make you lose your financial support and your ability to support yourself. I'll take that away from you because I will label you and become unemployed. The mythical modern audience that somehow fails to materialize and give billions of dollars away. Yes, Miguel said. And Abyss says the loudest part are not the ones buying the products. Yeah, of course. Yeah, Twitter is definitely proof of that. Yeah, I agree, Abyss. There's social media is just a big squeaky wheel that I don't know why. I guess it's just because it's so public, and companies have to pay so much attention to shareholders, and shareholders are reading these things because the internet has nothing to do but report on social media. So it's this weird kind of cycle of financial newspapers will report on the OGL thing going on with Wizards, and that freaks out all of the Hasbro shareholders, and it's a very weird process. And I even heard that in the weird thing in video games, and I guess it's still going on, like video games and movies and television and things. People pay so much attention to Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic and these aggregated score sites, and that's actually not a very accurate representation of how the game is selling or how the movie is selling, how it's being received. But these lazy companies just need an aggregate, or they need a kind of easy digested data. They don't want to rely on anybody for actually interpreting sales data or whatever, when they can just say, but we only got a 5.6 on this, aggregated review site. Yeah, that's funny. So Matt's saying, art for me is communication, and if art doesn't at least kind of convey a message or emotion, I'm highly skeptical. Yeah, that's an interesting point. Yeah, no, that's interesting. I feel that way too. I feel the communication of art is the most, like, connecting with someone is the most valuable thing for me. But I think, or contemporary art gave that up a long time ago, when it was just, critiquing, mass production of the industrial age, in fact, like, just once art got fascinated with commercial production, it got weird. It got weird. Abyss said, speaking of cancellation, the holy transgender war on Harry Potter and J.K. Rowling has finally taken its final victims. A VTuber. Oh, really? Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. I want to hear Chris talk about that wizard game. I'm curious. Society. Matt's saying, a society hears the word art and it's assumed the meaning visual art, just always starting fires. Yeah. This brings up that wizard game, and Warhol cashes all those checks. Yeah, but and Warhol in context, I mean, that was like the 60s and 70s had so much the rise of this weird kind of celebrity. Like, it didn't have to come from the Hollywood system anymore, and celebrity became weird, and fashion and just mass produced anything became weird. So kind of trying to put under, and just I think a lot of it was subversive too. I think what a lot of Warhol did was just a contrarian kind of subversive stuff, like the 4-hour movies. I forget the titles of some of the movies, but just like he would just get one of his favorite boyfriends, boyfriend models, to just sit, and he would just film them for 4 hours, just like eating or sitting and staring at the wall, and release that as an art film. A lot of it was just like Duchamp, and a lot of the like Dada and all of that art is just like to kind of fuck with audiences. And it's surprising what people can get away with. Like the one of the biggest, Jeff Koons, I think, is one of the biggest get away with shit artists. I actually met him after a speech in Chicago, and it was when he presented. So he married Ciccolina, the porn star, former Italian porn star that was a politician. I think she was in the it's not the parliament, Italian parliament or whatever. She was a politician. So they married, and he did a photo series of just pornographic images, and with porno title. Each image was a porno title. So I was in this presentation of his latest work, and it was a bunch of blue hairs in the Art Institute of Chicago, and he was just showing hardcore pornography of he and his wife, and just giving the names of each of these titles, and they were just like ridiculously, like they had really heavy, like ridiculous makeup on, but they're just porn images, and it was amazing, the whole experience of just watching a bunch of old women just looking at porn and having him explain. So the reason we took this image, and his kind of motivations for that, but his chrome balloon dogs and stuff, and recently at some art, I saw a story recently, one of his so he casts in ceramic. He'll take a one of those balloon dogs, cast it in ceramic, and then chrome it. So these like crazy super reflective, like giant balloon animals. And somebody knocked one over at an art show recently, like an art fair kind of thing, and the value wasn't huge. It was like $40,000 or whatever, as the actual value of it. But then they just put the pieces of it in an acrylic box, and of course it was insured and everything. But then that became what they were going to present as the art. So you never know. Art, smart, nice. Yeah, it's funny. Uh-oh. Abyss is telling me I'm switching sides. So the true tiebreaker would be whoever the elves side with. Yeah, that's going to be. So I'm going goblins. I'm going. We're talking about Oathmark again. I'm going dwarves and goblins, because they're cheap and fast, and dwarves are slow and not expensive, but they're just slow. And so I think elves are going to go with humans. I think it's going to be elves and humans. So we'll see. See, at least those crumb balloon animals make kids smile. Yeah, so they really, like, if you look at your reflection in them, they're really freaky. Yeah, but he's a very, because I think he was like a Wall Street guy. I think Jeff Koons like originally was a Wall Street guy. That was just like, hey, you know what? I can make more money like grifting the art market. So he did. So I have a like a $2 bill signed by Jeff Koons somewhere. All right. Anyhow, yeah. So that'll do it for this week. So thanks everyone for hanging out, and if you're listening to this on the Patreon RSS feed, thank you so much for supporting us and what we're doing. And yeah, this audio will be available every week if you don't want to look at it through YouTube. And it sounds much better on the RSS feed, doesn't it? Very, very cleaned up. But yeah, I really appreciate everyone's support, and thank you again, Abyss, for the memberships. Matt and I have continued our memberships. We're not only an owner, we're also a client. So yeah, we'll be back next week. So everybody, take care, and thanks for staying up if it's getting late where you are, or very early. And we'll do this again soon. So see you next time. Goodbye.